In this video I'm gonna be showing you 5 creative sampling and sound design tips and techniques using only Ableton Live's Simpler device. And Simpler is Ableton Live's Swiss Army knife sampler, very easy to use and available in all versions, so everyone can follow this tutorial. Tip number 1. Enable warping in Simpler to play polyphonic rhythmic chords using audio loops. Let me show you what I mean. I have this vocal sample loaded in Simpler. And if I want to play a chord with this sample and don't have warping enabled, it's gonna sound like this. So you see, in this case, each voice of the chord plays the sample at different pitch, which means different length, and each voice of the chord is out of sync with the others. So a simple thing would be to enable warping. Using complex warping mode would sound great. Here's what we have. And it sounds pretty cool, as warping in Simpler makes sure that each voice plays in sync with the other voices of the chord. Very simple trick, but very effective. And tip number 2 would be using the pitch envelopes to create a kick drum. And for this one I've loaded a simple sine wave. I've pitched it down. And it doesn't sound like a kick drum. In order to do that, we go to the pitch setting of the envelope and enable the pitch envelope. We're gonna need to activate it by increasing the modulation amount, 44 semitones plus 44 semitones. So the pitch starts from 44 semitones up and goes down, and how fast it goes down is gonna be determined by the decay parameter. Set up the regular envelope, the amplitude envelope. So we're gonna lower the sustain, increase the release a bit more, increase the decay. And you can adjust the decay and sustain to taste to just have the kick that you want to have. Oh, by the way, if you're enjoying this video and if it's useful to you, if you can support the channel by hitting the like button or dropping a comment down below. If you don't want to miss future tutorials like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and enable the notifications. And if you want some dope Ableton Live packs and sample packs, check out the link in the description of the video. It's also a great way to support the channel if you purchase one of those packs. And for tip number 3, we're generating tones using the self-oscillating analog modeled filters in Simpler by cranking up the resonance. Let's see how it's done. So these analog modeled filters, they are available in many other devices in Ableton, and they can generate tones by themselves when you crank up the resonance. You will still need to have some sample loaded. I've turned it down to -infinity dB so we don't hear the sample and we're only gonna hear the filter. I turn on the filter, I've got the OSR filter enabled, and if I crank up the resonance, I can play the filter. And for this you'll need to have key tracking enabled at 100%. And let's tune these notes, and we can do it by tuning the frequency of the filter. And the goal was, when I play C on the keyboards, to have the tuner showing C, which means it is tuned and we can play it. We can even play chords. And different analog modeled filters will generate different tones. Add some reverb. Other creative applications would be to route the LFO to the filter frequency. Sound effects like that. Or you can even create the kick drum similar to the previous tip when you activate the filter envelope. But we'll need to turn the frequency all the way down. Now on to tip number 4, and with this one we're using the Legato feature to play back loops chromatically. And so each note we play chromatically will not restart the loop, but the loop will continue to play from where it was, but it will be pitched up or down. And if this doesn't really make all that much sense, let me show you how it's done. It's really simple. So here's the loop that I'm using for this one. It's part of my Chords and Melodic Loops sample pack that you can check out from the link down in the description, but I'm gonna be using only the second half from this loop. So glide is enabled here from the controls page, but if we don't have that enabled and we play the loop up and down the keyboard as I've done here, let's hear how it's gonna behave. So as you can hear, each time we play a new note, the loop is restarted and played from the beginning. And if we go to this glide setting and enable it, let's hear the difference. So what happens is that the loop continues to play, but it's pitched up and down by the MIDI notes. And this opens up really cool creative possibilities with sampling. And with tip number 5, we are using the LFO to add variety to the notes that we're playing, to humanize them and to make each note sound different. But let me show you one important setting that you need to enable in order to do that. So I've just loaded a simple synth and I've laid down some short chords with it. And I'm gonna close the filter. And I'm gonna activate the LFO filter modulation with this value here. So we hear slight modulation on the filter, and we can make the LFO slower so that each note plays with a different cutoff frequency of the filter, if that makes sense. So the LFO cycles and adds variation to the notes. But as you can hear, it doesn't really work because of this setting, the retrigger option. We need to disable this one, because with the retrigger, each time a new MIDI note is played, the LFO starts from the beginning and it cannot complete its cycle. It's now set to 2 bars, as you can see. So as I disable this retrigger option, you can hear that the filter cutoff frequency will be modulated by the LFO, and the LFO will cycle regardless of the MIDI note that's played. So this video is over, and you can check out this one for more tips and techniques. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.